Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome back to the realm of inspirations, Inspired Awakening. It is officially time for the previous Lunar New Year recap and also to recap the first month of the Solar New Year, January 2024. I'm going to start by talking about January, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about just like the overall energy that was felt and experienced during the year of the rabbit and what to expect in the upcoming year of the dragon, and just kind of based on the groundwork and footprints and ley lines and all the things that the rabbit left us and is leaving us as we conclude this lunar new year, or lunar year, not lunar new year, we conclude the lunar year to get to the lunar new year. It was a mouthful. It honestly feels like just yesterday that I was sitting down and I was doing the channeling for the Lunar New Year for the tiger year, not even the rabbit year. Time flies so quickly and so much happens. So much has happened. So I want to talk about January because I had a very interesting and eventful January. As you can tell based on the videos, I was back in Greece, and that's because I had things to do. And because that's where I feel the most inspired and most at ease, and there's a little project that I'm working on that I really needed to do and work on parts of it there. It's a little work trip, also family, friends, romantic relations, everything and above. Really a multitasking 12 days of so much going on. But also the Cleansers of the Earth video needed to come out before the Lunar New Year of the Dragon, and it needed to be done in Greece. That was like the only place that I could do it. I could not have felt the energy or felt the call to do it in America. I don't know why. It just didn't resonate, and I think that just has to do with the fact that I really needed to have the sea and the mountains and the cats and the everything like physically around me all the time to kind of be in that energy to have a better understanding. But I started working on that. When was that? I feel like it was around my birthday in November when I went to a Himalayan salt rock cave, and that's when I really started to have a more understanding of the Cleansers of the Earth, and I would love in the future to have a cave of my own to do videos in there, because wouldn't that be amazing? So I'm manifesting that, but I just got this for now. Now for January, the start of January was a little bit of like, I would say a little bit of a slow start, but a little bit of a bumpy start as well. Lots of turbulence also happened in January, both literally and figuratively, and I'll get to that in a second. But fully the transition from citrine to amethyst, that metaphor, that story, that whatever you want to call it, that the cosmic Elfian elementals of crystalline energy, that message that was delivered could not have been more accurate, because I did feel like we as a collective were in this like beginning state, and then we were in that middle ground for what felt like forever, and it was like time stood still and we were like changing slowly, like piece by piece, but at the same time time went so fast, and so the concept of time was just working in such weird ways, and obviously our understanding of time differs from the understanding of time of the cosmos and divine timing, but how we are experiencing it in the physical, the way it was experienced was very interesting, where it was simultaneously the longest and the quickest time. But it was really long. It was honestly the first time, and I don't think I'm the only person who felt it, the first time that I felt like it was actually a month. Like, I feel like for the past few years, every month has just, like, gone by quickly or been weird, or it just hasn't felt like, when you're a kid and you're experiencing, this is January, this is February, like, that was the first time in a long time that it actually felt like this is 31 days, like this is a month, and so much is meant to happen in a month, and so much change and so much development and so much growth, and I think it was the first time in a long time that I personally really did feel like this is a month, like this is January. It didn't feel like I am just kind of blindly going through time and hoping for it to end, like just like kind of like, okay, just trying to get to the next year, trying to get to the next year, trying to get to the next year, and just I guess being in that mindset of like wanting time to go faster. I think also as a collective, we wanted time to go a little bit slower. Because so much has happened in the world, so many things are going on. And there was a lot of that like nostalgia factor as well going on of just like wanting to live and wanting to experience things. Now that, we're a little bit more free to do so, at least some of us are in the world. So I think that idea, and when we want time to go by fast, like, oh, we just want the pandemic years to be over, we just want it to go by so quickly, or when we want things to go a little bit slower, we can collectively manifest how things feel, almost, is what it seemed like, because a lot of us did kind of want that present moment awareness, breath of fresh airness. And I think when you do change your mindset to present moment awareness, you are able to experience like the full complexities and depth of something. And specifically just like a month, I think a lot of us are slowly starting to transition to that present moment awareness, which is what is making things feel more real again and making things feel more, I don't know, more like how we feel like they're supposed to, in regards to like a month. February, on the other hand, I mean, I do feel like it's going by a little quickly. February kind of always does that. It is a leap year this year, which is also just another powerful thing for the dragon. Just another powerful thing indicating the dragon is like, I need one more day with all of you, and even like, leap years in general, there's so much powerful energy just because we do have this like extra day, and it's an extra chance. It's another day where we can choose, are we going to choose present moment awareness? Are we going to choose, like, what are we going to choose to do with this extra time that we have? We are gifted this extra time. What are we going to do with it? And personally, I don't want to just be doing what I would normally do. I would, want to take that as a blessing. And another thing that made me think about that in January was when I was flying back, and it's like flying back in time, and on that flight, like the long flight back to America, I'm like, I am getting a day back. Like, I'm getting a whole other day, and let me like take advantage of that. Like, I'm given this extra time. Like, how often does that happen? Once every 4 years are we given an extra day? Or if you travel, to Europe and then come to America, you get it too, but that also doesn't happen very often either. So it's just taking advantage of the time that you have, and the precious time that you have, and using it to your benefit, and also using it to do something, like do something positive. Or if you just have not taken a break in 3 years, maybe that one day you're like, I'm given this extra day, this day doesn't count, I'm just gonna do nothing, and I'm just gonna relax, and I'm just gonna chill, and I'm actually gonna like let myself breathe for once. Just doing something with that extra time that's gonna add benefit and help your health as well. So that message kind of came through to me at the end of January, and it's still coming through to me now, which is definitely like the wrap up of the Lunar New Year message, is like present moment awareness can really shift your perspective on how time works and truly give you more time. Present moment awareness gives you more time, because time is a construct. So when you do shift your focus to, I'm going to do things like slowly, you're given more time. You just are, because you're allowing yourself to be in the stillness. And when you're in the stillness, things can be slower. And we all keep saying like, I wish I had more time, I wish I had more time. And then we're rushing all the time. The rat race where we keep going. And we're like, I wonder why I have no time. It's because that present moment, the sitting in the stillness, that's what gives you more time. If you don't allow yourself to rest and relax and sit in the stillness, you're not going to have time, because you're not giving yourself the permission to experience the stillness of life. That also came through to me right when I came back. And I was like, there was a 50-minute affirmation thing. And I was like, I really don't have time for this. Like, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to listen to this and I want to watch that. And I'm like, no, let me play this and actually be like, I have the time for this. And I do. And I'll have the time to do the other things that I want to do as well. But it's the need to wanting to do everything at once. And that kind of prevents you from experiencing the present moment, but also is what's shortening our attention spans as a collective humanity, is wanting things to be so quick. And I was doing interviews for, and this was like in January and a little bit in February, for the upcoming holistic fairs and the classes in the gallery that I'll be leading. Information will all be, website, everything, for those, and that's like in the spring season. And the organizer of the fairs is like, now people aren't going to watch a video if it's like 20 minutes or like multiple 20-minute videos. It's the attention span. You have to grab them in a short period of time. So you got to be quicker. You got to be more concise. It's got to be shorter. Longer form things aren't performing as well. Just from like, an analytical perspective, or just from like an overall view of the collective humanity. And when we're online, we want things so quickly. Long form things aren't doing as well. So if you're still sitting here and you're watching this and you're listening to me talk, thank you for expanding your attention span, because the more that we force ourselves, and that's why I also have expanded doing podcasts just like for my own personal benefit, to sit down and talk, because that's also helping my attention span come back. Because it got so shrunk when I was in high school. And especially when you are programmed to move on a bell, like, you don't allow, like, that's a whole other conversation. But, in schooling, when, it's 40 minutes for this class, 40 minutes, and then go, go, go. Just kind of rushing us through life, not allowing us to sit in the stillness, and then we don't think it's okay to do that. That growing the attention span back is, like, so important, and especially to do in the next year, because when our attention span is smaller, then also just our perspective on a lot of things going on in the world changes. I think about, or a lot of wars, a lot of things going on in other countries, and it seems like in America specifically, we will change focus to something else and forget that something is still going on here. Like, it hasn't stopped just because we stopped paying attention to it. It's still happening, but our attention span is, this is kind of boring now, let's move on to the next thing. This controversial topic is getting boring, let's move on to the next thing. And nothing is ever resolved. There's no closure to anything, and we just keep moving to the next thing, and then we keep feeling like something's missing, this doesn't feel right, I keep feeling off. We don't allow ourselves to feel closure of things, or truly feel the end of something. One example I think of is also just in dating culture a lot, but even I experienced it in high school and high school dating, like, just going, it's just like, keep moving, you keep going, and not allowing, like, it's not okay to sit for 5 years and more in the loss of, like, a partner or something. It's like, you gotta get back out there, and it's the culture of, like, you gotta keep going, you're not gonna get any younger, and that stress of you're not gonna get any younger is causing so many of us, and I even noticed it, like, with my cousins and friends, it's like, we are maturing way too quickly. Like, we are getting old way too quickly. We're not allowing ourselves to even be young. And that's something that hurts our inner child self. And that's something we need to cater to for our health and our development, is allowing ourselves to just be like, I'm 20 right now, and I'm going to be that. And I'm not going to try and rush myself to be 30 quite yet. Because when I was 10, I was rushing myself to be 30. So let's take a break. It's the constant rushing and pushing, specifically in American society. Now, I've learned and observed it's not as common in other places, but it's becoming more common just on a collective basis, that rushing. And there's also, the communication of present moment awareness and being in the moment. And we also constantly always feel like there's something we need to be fighting for or something we need to be fighting against. A group of people we need to be like, you're wrong and I'm right. And there's this constant need on a collective reality to be, yelling at someone or someone yelling at you, and how are you going to fight back. And there's a lot of like, you got to pick your one thing to stand for, you got to pick your one thing to advocate for, and that's going to be a few months and then move on to the next thing. And there's that pattern I've just observed and watched a lot of times when I go on my phone and I open up YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and I'm just observing and watching the things that come up on the feeds, over the course of time, and how we can get hyper-focused on one thing and then let it go, and hyper-focused on another thing and let it go. And how people, and I'm guilty of this too, can get so invested in something else, something completely that has nothing to do with us, that we start forgetting our own selves and our own truth and our own identity, that we're letting, things that we're seeing online program us, and we're letting, the news program us, we're letting fear program us, and we're not giving ourselves the time of, introspectiveness, reflectiveness. When I first started my awakening journey, I didn't think I could do a meditation. Like, I was like, I can do yoga because I keep moving, and I can tell you even now, I still struggle. If it's a 30-minute yoga video, I struggle because it's like the same thing. That's why for a while I did, working out and weight training, because I could, move and do a bunch of different things. It's the attention span thing of like just knowing, I don't think I can sit down for 20 minutes and do a meditation. I personally did not think I had the attention span for it anymore, or the patience, because you're being trained to go, 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 go. So the biggest message I learned in January and overall in the past lunar year is, with the rabbit, was and is taking the time to expand our attention span, taking the time to sit in present moment awareness, and not bandwagoning, not hopping on one thing and going from one thing to another, and modifying our beliefs and our character and our behaviors and our mannerisms and our speaking patterns just to match a fad, just to match this, just to match that. Really taking the courage, because it is taking the courage to break away from the mold and be who you are, and not get lost in things that are so easy to get lost in. So just remembering that. Now, the turbulence thing, it was such an interesting experience. That I'm like, I kind of like, is such a fun title, Turbulence Over the Atlantic. I might do something with that. But when I was flying to Greece, there was so much turbulence that it really felt like I was flying to Zurich and then to Greece, but so much turbulence that it felt like we were going to literally fall out of the sky over the Atlantic. And I kept hearing the message, it's because you're over the water. And once you fly over land, it's going to be okay. And I kept hearing, like, it's going to be okay. But at the same time, it's like, gotta pray, gotta do everything. Everyone's praying or cursing or freaking out, and there's nervous laughter. And we're in, like, the back of the plane, so you can feel it a little bit more. It's more bumpy back there. And, I also kept hearing the entire time, we're just going with the waves, we're going with the flow. But I took that, especially now doing these videos of recaps, when things happen, I'm like, is there a message here? Is there something it's trying to tell me? Can I figure it out? And one thing I figured it out is faith is so important moving into the next year. Faith can move mountains or, get planes where they need to go. Don't forget about connection to, it's the balancing of connection with God and Gaia. It's balancing the connection with the sky and the earth. It's balancing the connection with the heaven above and the earth below us. It's learning to balance that, as well as learning to balance the different levels of spirituality and the different avenues and aspects of it, because the divine masculine spirituality and divine feminine spirituality are both valid. They are both important for our development, and we can't isolate one over the other, because in doing so, we're doing a disservice to ourselves. as long as you're staying on the positive polarity side of things, and you'll kind of know if you are, because the lower polarity side of things really does favor the egoic self and the lower self. In the higher polarity side of things, it's just easier and fluid connection to source, God, creator, and the divine. The levels of spirituality, once you're on the higher side of the positive polarity, they start to blend together. So it's also understanding that. And it breaks my heart sometimes seeing the amount of hate of one way over the other. Like the amount of hate of, people online hating on, yoga, intuition, things like that. Or people online hating on prayer, connection to God. And just seeing like this one thing I was told was wrong, or I had a bad experience, so I'm going to hate on it. And that is the complete opposite of God, source, creator, and Gaia. It's love of all and release of judgment. And I don't think we realize sometimes how much negativity we send to ourselves and other people, especially if we're hating on a part of ourselves. The divine feminine and masculine parts of ourselves, they're parts of us, and we see them reflected outwards into our external reality. And when we're hating on the divine feminine side of things or the masculine side of things, we are in turn hating on a part of ourselves. We just might not realize it. That's why acceptance of all and love and, overcoming negativity in the seven deadly concepts and stepping into higher light and love, transmuting negativity, acknowledging it, not just throwing it away, turning it into positivity, taking the steps to do those things is so important because it allows us to feel more aligned and get rid of that imposter syndrome. And that was a big theme throughout the entire lunar year of the rabbit in 2023. Was learning that and learning how to balance those things, the divine maternal and paternal, the masculine and the feminine, just balancing those things inside of ourselves and learning how to heal them, and also switching the narrative from I'm throwing away the ego and I'm throwing away negativity and whatever, I don't want it, to let's transmute this into light, because this is energy. We need energy. And when we are transmuting things into positivity, we are doing more of a service to ourselves and the collective all. And the ego is there, and in some ways we need it, and in some ways we don't. It's the story of transmuting it into positivity, and not just overcoming it, but turning it into light as it ascends higher with you into just being light. It's turning the lower self, transmuting it into positivity. That's the key. That's the big lesson. And I was even at fault of following I just am going to put the ego in a box and do nothing about it. Because if you do nothing about it and you put it in a box, it's still going to have control over you. It's still there. It's still negativity. That's not going to change anything. Just because it's in a box, it doesn't change what it is. When you transmute it into positivity, get rid of the box, turn it into light, then it steps forward and becomes light, and that negativity isn't sitting there anymore. And that's the biggest thing moving forward. Another thing I learned with the rabbit was the potential and opportunity and taking chances and taking risks and letting things go that no longer serve you. Overall, throughout the year of the rabbit, rebirth, biggest thing. I'm calling it the year of the phoenix as well, because you need the rebirth of the phoenix to create the fire for the dragon. So in a way, I'm also referring it to that, also because the phoenix and the dragon are soulmates and the yin yang, and it's like the whole story there. So they're also warrior frequency together, but can also be huntress frequency. They have the ability to be both, to be more of a, coming forth communicator, a logic, reason, and then also intuition, spirituality, and softness. And there's two sides of the coin. There's also the positive and negative stories. So the energy of the dragon and the tree of knowledge, the knowledge frequency, the energy of the phoenix and the flame of truth frequency, the truth frequency, they work so well together, and we kind of need to start having the awakenings of truth to understand the knowledge that's coming forth. So the power of the flame of truth and the tree of knowledge, just the knowledge frequency and the truth frequency, started coming forth and making its presence known very dramatically this past year and is going to continue to do so. The dragon energy is just like top tier powerful. And if any year is going to help bring the massive change and put us individually and as a collective all where we need to go, it's this year. It's the year with the dragon, because they are change makers, they are warriors, they are communicators of truth, they are powerful, they are cleansers, they will burn up negativity, they will bring the truth to light. They are in some ways blunt and direct. And in all higher beings, there really isn't a filter. It's not, I'm going to communicate this in a soft way so you're not hurt. It's like, this is the truth. And that's what I love about higher connection and, you know, even like doing readings and just like tapping into clairaudiency and just connecting with the divine as well, is like the bluntness. Like, even with my guardian angels, it's just like, you were gonna hurt yourself back there. And it's not like being sugarcoating, next time try and do this. It's like, no, this is like the truth. This is what was gonna happen. Be careful next time. And it's just the pure honesty without filtration that is like so refreshing, especially like given the collective society we're in right now, when there are filters on everything, even our faces and everything. Filters are everywhere. So to like just that higher connection, and even connecting to my higher self, that sometimes takes the form of a dragon, some to just like, you know, be like, you're a cleanser, communicate truth. That just bluntness and just like, this is the truth. This is how it is. Like, you can't change that. And no matter how much sugar you put on top, you're not going to change the truth and what it is and what's meant to happen and what's going on. And the times when I absolutely hate that, I'm like, no. When my initial flight got canceled, I was like freaking out. It's like, this is how it is. This is how it's going to go. And I'm like, I want to try and change that. I'm going to actually go early. And I ended up, you know, going a few hours later. And they're like, it's this is how it's supposed to go. You can't change things when they're working how they're supposed to be. And that bluntness can be so annoying sometimes because we're trained to be sugar-coated. But it's also so necessary moving forward that, you know, that dragon energy is gonna show you things, and it's not gonna be with sugar on top. When I first started connecting with the beings of inspiration, our eternal loving friends, the Elfian realm, they started by telling me the time for metaphors is over. There have been so many stories and things in the past where things are very much hidden, like in mythologies and things like that. Just things buried underneath a bunch of fiction and filters. The time for that is over, and they've kept saying that continuously. And each year they're like, it's over. The time for that is over. We're going to keep moving forward. We're not like covering things up anymore. You know, we're digging things up. We're showing it as it is. The time for metaphors is over. So that's also important just in general, just seeing the truth of things. It started this last year, and it's going to continue to happen. Truths are going to come to light. We're going to have understanding of things. Now, it's important to take notice and note of when the negative polarity fights back and tries to distract with advocacy and things like that. So what I mean by that is when there is a big cause and controversial topic, and there is maybe a law about it, or there is this big debate about someone a part of a community, or there is this like big thing and everyone's talking about it, and it's a distraction. Anything that distracts from oneness and unity and connectiveness, that's like creating division and diversity and isolating groups of people to be like, they are different, let's attack the differences instead of we are all one. That is a distraction from the lower polarity. So it can be so easy to get distracted and lost, and I want to talk about this, and I have my opinions on this, and this is this, and getting so lost in that. But don't forget that you can get lost in that. And then every time something new happens, you can get lost in that, and that's taking away present moment awareness and focusing on yourself and your life and what you can do to better the collective all, and not focusing necessarily on everything going on that's cycling through and the short attention spanness going on. It's good to speak about things that you believe in, and to speak about things that you believe in, just don't get lost in that. Because it can be so easy to get lost in that and to be like, I'm gonna just like dive all of my energy into this one thing. there is, you don't want to give too much of your energy away. And it's balance and understanding. My energy goes here and it goes here. My energy goes to family, it goes to friends, it goes to myself, it goes to working with people, it goes to the things that I love. And focus the things on like your personal, interpersonal life, giving your energy there, and then look what's going on in the collective all, and like, okay, maybe one day I can give my energy to this, and like, this is my opinion, these are my beliefs, let me share this about this. Maybe one day I can read this and give some attention to this, but you want to have most of your energy close to you. What's kind of been happening and what I've been noticing energetically is we're sending a lot of our energy way too far away from us. And when we're doing that, we are drained and we're off balance and we can't sleep, we can't eat, we feel sick. There's too much of our energy going way too much outside of us. We want to try and keep it closer to us, keeping our energy closer. We need it. And moving forward with the change and the cleansing and everything the dragon's going to bring, it's especially important to keep your energy close to you. Now, I'm obviously going to do a channeling about the Lunar New Year, and I'm going to do a channeling about the dragons and talk about them as well. This is just me talking, so that I'll actually let the Elfian realm and the warriors step through again, and the warrior frequency just come and deliver its messages. Just to talk a little bit more about that. But in general, just knowing my connection to the warrior frequency and what I can feel and sense, this is kind of just like what I'm feeling. Also with just every year, I can see the overarching color frequency aura of the entire year, each individual month, and sometimes I forget, and so then I check back in later, but at the beginning of the year, I can see that overarching thing. And what I overall see is, like, there is gonna be a few cloudy weeks or months. Like, there's gonna be that transition period. I always see it in the middle of the year, there's that transition period, but this year, it's like the smoke is clearing, and that's what I can sense and feel. The smoke is gonna clear, but sometimes it's not always initially pleasant when it does. It's, when you cover furniture, your summer furniture, and then you lift it up and you're like, oh, there's a bug there. I can't believe I covered a bug. Or there's some dust, and like, oh, I didn't notice that stain was there. Some things that you forget exist, you forget are there because it's covered. That's what I mean. There's gonna be so much, and there was so much uncovering in the past year of things, but especially moving forward as well, it's more uncovering and just seeing things. And for me, the biggest thing is like understanding and seeing where messages that were delivered to me got distorted and were more influenced by other people's opinions and fears, and what they wanted from me. And me ignoring that initial intuition about some things and my, the filtering system of, okay, this resonates, this doesn't, this is not for me, this is for me. Ignoring that and really trying to take things that I read or I received as a message as gospel truth to my life, and then learning that actually it's kind of the exact opposite. And things change. Especially, I received a message of, when you go there, you go to Greece, you're not going to be able to do your work. Like, it's just not a safe environment for it. And then knowing how many healers, readers, astrologers, channelers, and how much I am actually able to do my work more there, and knowing that maybe this message came from just, not knowing or not having an understanding of the culture there because you never experienced it yourself, and so you wouldn't know, and you don't know until you experience it. And so that fear was controlling me so much. It's like, but I know I'm supposed to go there, but I'm receiving this message that it's gonna kill my soul if I go there. I'm like, actually, it's killing my soul when I'm not there. No, it's not killing my soul, but I mean, it's the opposite of that. What I learned from actually taking the risks. And so Another big message is don't let other people's fears and limitations scare you from taking the risks that you're supposed to. Take the leaps of faith with God. Take the leaps of faith with your guardian angels and the divine. Take those leaps of faith to where you feel like you're supposed to be and where you're supposed to go without fear and without the fear of other people. I had no doubt about what I wanted to do my entire life. I had no doubt about it. I didn't start experiencing doubt until other people's fears and limitations and concerns, granted concerns, came in and started telling me things. And then I started internalizing that as if it was mine. So it's definitely important to undo the programming. And that's what we've been doing. That's what we're going to keep doing. I feel like it's kind of getting to the point to wrap it up. I'm just kind of like feeling that. So the last thing I kind of want to touch on a little bit just is giving gratitude for everything we experienced the past year. I think we're so eager to start something new, and a lot of people are like, January, I don't want to count that as the start of my year. And I was like, okay, because we actually are switching into the silver age, so the lunar new year is going to start feeling more like a new year. Moving forward, that's kind of going to start feeling a little bit more accurate. But also, just because you don't like something doesn't mean that you can just be like, I don't want to count this. I don't like it, I don't want to count it. I don't like this thing, I don't want to include it. And it's funny because that's just the visual I see of my Elfian Traveler guide, just like, it's like, you all are like, I don't want to count it. I don't like it. I don't like it. And this is the visual I'm seeing, just like, yeah. You can't do that. You can't just ignore things because you don't like them or disregard things because you don't like them. If they happen, they happened. If they happen, they're supposed to happen. And so don't disregard an entire month of your life because something bad happened in it. You don't want to do that because it was supposed to happen. It's part of your journey. And even if you didn't like it, it still happened and it's part of your story. And just because you don't like parts of your story doesn't mean that it's not part of your story. So it's important not to... It's funny now, I'm just hearing like jokes. Just like jokes, like you know, about kind of how we can get so stuck in the loop of getting rid of everything we don't like and not dealing with things we don't like. But also it's kind of like, in a joking way, we're switching into love and light, but we're still gonna complain about everything. We're switching into love and light, but it's that, like, I've seen that, like, trend of things going on online. It's like, of course I'm this, I'm gonna do this. And it's that similar, like, thing. I'm hearing that, like, yeah, we're switching to love and light and awakening, but we're still gonna hate on people, and we're still gonna do this, and we're still gonna spread negativity. But, you know, I'm an optimist, and it's those things. So, you know, choosing to step away from negativity and choosing to step into awakening, it's just funny to me. And it's like, I'm not making fun of people, it's just, it's like what I'm hearing. But it's, because I've done it too, where I've been like, yeah, I'm gonna complain about everything, but, you know, I'm a healer. Or I've done those things where it's like, it's so much easier to get stuck in negative thought patterns than it is to stay in positive ones. It's just easier. It's easier because of the world that we live in, and because it's the programming and training that we're told. Even in the media and in TV, it's like, you know, you watch the dad come home and he's complaining about the work day to his wife, and, you know, the kids are like, oh, dad is so that, and, like, you see it in media all the time where it's just normal. I'm gonna come home from work, I'm gonna complain, or I don't like this, I'm gonna complain. And that's the biggest thing I notice, is just so much complaining about things when things don't go your way. For things to go your way, sometimes they aren't going to go your way, because sometimes it has to go someone else's way. And so it's switching from, yeah, there's some things I didn't like, but it's letting go of the selfish perspective and thinking, okay, maybe it had to go wrong for me this time for it to go right for somebody else. I think about it in the lens of, like, with my flight. I was going to get off the plane, take a taxi, go to the bus station, get to where I need to go. Like, I was going to do all those things, and I timed my ticket, like, timed it so I would perfectly be on time for everything. Probably would have caused me more stress if I actually was on time. And it ended up working out a little bit differently. And then I ended up just taking a taxi all the way where I needed to go. And the taxi driver got got money, got a booking, got something to do. And, in the winter time, things aren't as busy as in the summertime. And so it helped that person. And even though it didn't go my way initially, maybe it was supposed to go this person's way. Maybe that person, the taxi driver was manifesting that money, needed it. And so it needed to not go right for me so it could go right for them because I was the person who could give that to them. So it's all a well-oiled machine. We're a well-oiled machine, and so sometimes it's gonna go wrong for us, so it can go right for somebody else, and sometimes it'll go right for us and go wrong for somebody else. So it's not always gonna go our way, and I like to think of it from that perspective of, well, it didn't work out for me, but maybe it not working out for me worked out better for somebody else, and so in the end, it ended up benefiting everyone, because that's, we are all one, and so one person experiencing positivity and joy and all of those things, if I have this one thing go wrong, okay, it's gonna be my turn. And just instead of complaining and being like, January was awful, and this year is awful, and I don't like this year, and then setting that energy and that tone for the year, that is then being like, telling the universe, okay, I'm not ready for the blessings you were gonna give me in February. I'm not ready for when it's gonna go my turn. It's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. It's telling the universe, I don't want it. You were gonna give me, like, massive abundance in March. It was gonna be the best month ever, but I set the tone, this is gonna be the worst year ever, and I'm manifesting that now for myself. Okay, I don't want it. It's the mindset. It's what you put out there. Your thoughts create your reality. And so instead of being like, it didn't work out for me, my life sucks, it's like, okay, it didn't work out for me, it worked out for somebody else, it'll be my turn, I'll get my turn, and I know it'll happen, and, I'm happy to be part of society and part of life and the experience, and helping somebody else experience, the success and the abundance and the joy that they have been manifesting. Great, I'm happy to do it. If I'm happy to do it, and I know my turn will come, and I have faith. So just having faith that even if the past month or the past lunar year or past year or whatever did not work out for you, having faith that it's going to work out for you, and letting go of the complainer mentality of everything sucks and it just sucks and that's it. And it's not going to change, because that's what's going to manifest things. It's going to change. You just have to believe it's going to change. And also think about how justice works and karma works. And if you keep doing something and that it's kind of wrong, and it's worked out for me before, I was lucky once, let me try and keep getting lucky, and then it stops working out for you, maybe because it wasn't supposed to, maybe you got lucky one time, but how your karma works is you're taking advantage of someone or you're taking advantage of something. Karma's gonna work, and it's not gonna work out for you every time if it's not. So it's just something I've observed, and also just having a job in the human world and just seeing people and working with people, it's like when a system was lenient and you take advantage of it and then expect it to work for you every single time, and it doesn't, and then the people who are telling you it's not gonna work this time are the problem. That's how karma works. Karma works that way. So it's something I observed a lot. That's how karma works. And you don't want to take advantage of the one time you got lucky. If, you win the lotto once, you might not always win it. So you get lucky, don't try and take advantage of something just because it worked out once. And also, pay attention to your karma and how justice works. And if something continually doesn't work in your favor, think about what you're doing, think about what it is, think about what's going on, think about the energy. Change your perspective from the selfish self to the selfless self. That's the biggest journey, is changing it from the selfish self to the selfless self and the self-love self. Because actually the selfish self that's putting me first, you're not giving yourself self-love or compassion. Because we are social beings, we care about people, we're nurturing, we're loving, we're compassionate. That's our nature. Love is our nature. And when we choose to forget that and not spread love to other people, we are doing a disservice to ourselves. We aren't giving ourselves self-love. So also just being like me all the time isn't giving yourself self-love, even if it seems like it is. It's the illusion of what it is. It's like, today is about me, tomorrow I'm going to do something for somebody else. Give to receive. It's the cycle, and it's not I'm giving because you're going to give me something back. It's I'm giving and it'll come back to me however it's going to come back to me. I don't care. And that was what I said when I had a, issue with the ticket of getting Grace. It's like, I'm going to spend this money right now to get to where I need to go. I'm not expecting it to come back to me, right away. I'm like, it'll come back, or maybe I'm meant to spend it. Like, I'm not going to put a chokehold on it. My mom, we do the New Year's cake, the vesilo pizza, at the end of every year, and the start of the next year for the solar year. And you put the coin in the cake. It's like a Greek tradition. And she was asking me if I had a euro. I was like, I have this $2 euro, but I'm like, I kind of need it, but it's okay. And she's like, no, I don't want to put that in the cake. She's like, I don't want to put something that you've already put the intention that you need and then put it in there to, like, maybe give it to somebody else, because you've already been like, I want that. So you're not giving it willingly. It's not like, I'm donating this, I'm giving this, I don't care. It's like, you have that energy, so I'm not going to put that energy. She said it was negative energy. I'm like, no, I'm not being negative, but in retrospect, it is a little bit. It's like, you put it in the cake, it could be anyone's. It could go to the house, it could go to my brother, it could go to my mom, it could go to, we cut it for God, Mother Mary. We cut it for, like, a few different things. So it could go to anything. It could come back to me. But I'm like, yeah, but I might need it when I go on my trip. I might need, like, a euro when I go on my trip. I was like, I might need this. And, it ended up working out, because I did end up needing that, actually, at the end. I did need it, and I did use it. But we've used a different coin that didn't come from me, a smaller amount of money, but like a 50-cent euro. But it was like, that interaction showed me, yeah, sometimes we can put such a bad taste in a cake or in someone else's thing, or give some negativity to something unknowingly, just because we're like, well, it's kind of I kind of don't want to do this, but I'm doing it anyway because I feel like I'm supposed to, but I don't want to. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. If it's not coming from the heart, don't do it. And also, it changing the perspective, okay, let me think about this. Yeah, it's needed for this. But I could not. I was in my mind, I'm like, I can't get around that. I need this. I don't understand. Like, just put a 50-cent, like, that's what we ended up doing. But I couldn't get my head around it. I couldn't change my mind about it. Like, I'm like, I need this. And so sometimes, yeah, you do need something. And so don't give away something you need just because someone asks. It's like, oh, I need, like, all your energy for today, and then you might get it back, but you might not. Like, I need my energy. So also kind of learning when is the right time to give. So just the relationship with giving and receiving and all of those things, and it's like I'm a broken record, and don't really know where I'm going, because I sit down, I turn on the camera, and I'm like, okay, God, angels, dragons, whatever, direct me. What am I supposed to say? I don't have, like, a paper. I'm like, okay, here's talk about next, because that would be so exhausting for me to do personally. It also just feels more authentic to me for me to, like, sit and then talk about why I'm being authentic. So that I can make sense of the fact of, like, if none of this video makes sense, this is why. So don't think that I'm not smart. This is why. No, I just feel like that was a story to share. Sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to share a story or say something and it doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm like, maybe it makes sense. This is what's coming through. It's like when I do channelings, and, I can hear the beings of inspiration speaking. I can hear the elves speaking, and I'm like, why is that coming out of my mouth? Like, I have that, like, kind of, like, because I'm hearing it from an outer perspective if I'm supposed to hear the message. So when I was doing the cleansers of the earth thing, I'm like, that's really weird. Oh, wait, it's not me. Like, this is a download coming through. This is a channeling. Like, it's not me. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it'll make sense to somebody else. especially when I watch some videos back and I'm like, but then people are like, oh yeah, that made sense, that resonated with me, and I'm like, I'm glad, because it doesn't make sense to me. So sometimes that happens. So if something doesn't make sense to you, maybe it doesn't resonate. Move on to the next thing. I definitely learned that when I was like getting readings done for me. I was in my phase of like, I didn't want to listen to my own intuition and inner guidance, so I'm going to listen to everybody else around me. And then all of those messages ended up pointing to me like, I need to listen to my intuition. And that ended up being the message. When I had that phase of just like taking anything even if it doesn't resonate. Don't do that. Do not do that. I really like this forum of just sitting and talking, especially because of the fact that it's nice to have someone to talk to, even if it's camera, but also I think this is like a nice thing to share with people, and like a little video diary thing. Yeah, that just made me feel a little old. I'm 20, I'm like, video diary thing. I said that to like my 7-year-old cousin, he'd be like, what's a video diary? Honestly, I don't know. I'm thinking like Disney Channel, Good Luck Charlie, she's recording the videos for her little sister. That's what my brain thinks of. He'd be like, okay, do you want to go play soccer? Like, but that's how it is. What we focus our energy on is what we know. So, yeah. It's like the imploring, don't drain your energy, please. Like, don't do things that are draining your energy, and don't change your plans just because you feel bad. Ooh, that message I think was coming to me. I was like, ooh. Because I was like, oh, I might change my plans because of what I want to do, because like I do kind of feel bad about this thing, and like, you know, and like if someone's making you feel guilty or something's going to be difficult on somebody else because you're choosing to leave and you're choosing to choose your path and choose your life, it's kind of their problem. Like, it's not your problem to solve once you're doing what's best for you. And so you can't solve the effects of what happens when you disappear, you know? So again, I feel like that message is coming to me. It happens sometimes. That's why I encourage doing this. Like, even if you don't post it online, I'm posting it online because I don't care. But doing this, just sitting down and like talking and, oh, this and this. That's why the reflection, like, obviously it's important to like, you know, here's my projections and predictions and whatever. And the messages coming through, but also like, let me sit and reflect on everything, and then like, this makes sense, and this makes sense, and this makes sense. So I hope I'm inspiring your awakening and inspiring you to do the same thing, even if you don't post it online, because it's so important to do, is to take the time to reflect, because I'm getting answers for myself, like, in my own things, just by speaking. Like, having a little moment, but no, it is very true. You know, when someone's uncertain about what to do, maybe if like you're gonna leave or you're gonna move and they don't know what they're gonna do, and they're like begging you in every which way to stay, or saying something that makes you feel kind of bad about the decision that you're making, I mean, that's not your problem to solve. And what is your problem to solve is what is good for your soul, what is good for you, what do you need to do, what are you meant to do, and everything else will fall into place, and will fall into place, like, you know, when you leave, and everything's gonna work out. So those messages definitely coming to me too, but I think that's the last concluding thing, because that is something I noticed, is when you're made to feel guilty, don't listen to that. If you're feeling guilty because, like, you did something wrong, okay. But if you know, like, I'm doing nothing wrong, but, like, I don't know why I feel bad, don't listen to that. Because that's just another thing trying to prevent you from doing what you're meant to do. So that feels like a good place to end. And then I gotta do the Lunar New Year channeling, too. I'm gonna talk about the dragons, so I gotta go do that. But I'll see you in the next Inspired Awakening. I want to, in the future, actually go back to doing interviews with people. It's not resonating right now, but I do feel like once I get my feet and roots settled where I'm meant to go and where my future is gonna be, once I do that, and I get everything sorted, maybe more interviews, maybe also with the fairs, I might, start talking to people and other vendors and interview them a little bit like I did before, and open up that box a little bit more. So hopefully in the future I will have more guests on this show. It's just has not been the right timing, doesn't resonate that it's the right timing, and these recaps resonate right now. Maybe in the future I won't do the recaps anymore and I'll do interviews, or who knows. We're going to find out, and we're going to find out together, because that's the path of awakening and the journey, and things are ever changing and ever flowing and ever growing and ever glowing. Ooh, that's nice. So, see you in the next Inspired Awakening. Until then, sending you love, light, and inspiration. Stay inspired.